Okay, good. I love Q&A. Okay, so you've already heard a little bit about me. The company is actually pronounced Sagacent. It comes from the word sagacious, which means to be wise, inquisitive, and to carefully think before you act, which is what you're going to need after we give you the presentation, because it may scare you a little bit. My presentation today is offered in two segments. So when I originally was talking to Larry, we were talking about computer hacking, giving you my standard cybersecurity presentation. The more I thought about it, the more I thought you guys need a special presentation. So I'm going to rip through the computer hacking presentation, just the essence, and then we're going to talk about senior scams, because most senior scams are being perpetrated through what would normally be considered computer hacking. So I'm hoping that I can deliver some real value here today. A preface. What I tell my clients, it isn't if you get hacked, it's when you get hacked. So for all my clients, what we try to do is assume they're breached. And what are we going to do? What are we going to put in place to get them up and running and whole again after the worst happens? When we're talking about scams, you should be thinking the same thing. It's not if, it's when. There's no such thing as 100% secure. If you're using computers, if you're online, you're vulnerable, period. It doesn't matter what software you're running or how smart you are, I'm vulnerable. Number three, no single product or solution can fix this. Nothing makes me angrier than watching TV and some guy comes on and he's telling you, you buy this product and you're safe from hackers. It's a lie. There is no single product that will do it. And finally, cloud solutions are not automatically secure. They would like you to believe that. They are a good place to start, but a company like mine, we have to lock them down because they're not secure right out of the box. And they get hacked themselves. So we need to be very wary of our data in the cloud and try and protect it. What's happening in the news? So we'll get into our hacking presentation. Hacking happens all the time. And if you think back to the news reports you've seen, you've probably heard of some big companies getting hacked. This is a website called Data is Beautiful, and I love this site. And they're constantly updating it. The balloons are sized in relative to the number of account records that were accessed. So you see that big orange one, where's my laser pointer? This big one with Facebook, 533 million records accessed. And a lot of these companies have been hacked again. So you see Facebook, if I went further down, you'd see Facebook. Microsoft gets hacked, Google gets hacked. Again, it's not if, it's when. But the interesting thing is smaller businesses and individuals get hacked much more frequently than the big companies do. So here's 5 stories in rapid succession. SolarWinds is a company that makes software that IT companies use to manage computers. They were hacked in September of last year. It wasn't discovered until December. Very, very often, about 280 days go by before the IT guys, I often refer to them as boobs, realize that the hackers are in there and getting the goods. So this was relatively quick for noticing it, but not good. What happened is that SolarWinds make software that the government and large companies run to manage their IT. The hackers have been trying to hack SolarWinds for years and couldn't get in there. So what they did is they hacked the company that repackages the software for SolarWinds before they send it out to clients. And when the clients upgraded their software or performed the updates, the bad stuff went in. This was not done for ransomware. I know that on the news and in the media, they want you to think everything's done for ransomware purposes. Ransomware is where they encrypt your computer data. Your computer still runs fine. You just can't access your pictures, your music files, your email, anything. They want your computer to operate so you can pay them the money. So that's ransomware. In this case with the SolarWinds, it was done for espionage reasons. They knew who the client was. The client was the US government and Fortune 500 companies. It is believed that the hackers were Russian. How do we know who does the hacking? Well, very interestingly, different hackers use different techniques, and it's like a fingerprint. So we can see who gets in. This SolarWinds hack was big, but again, they didn't ask for a ransom or anything. They just gathered their data and quietly went away. They now know a lot of secrets about us. Very scary. Exchange. So Microsoft's a big player in the IT world. They make a product called Exchange Server. A lot of bigger companies don't want to risk running their email in the cloud, so they run their own email servers in-house. The hackers found a vulnerability in Exchange, and then they started getting into organizations. Over 30,000 organizations had their emails hacked because of this. Again, oddly, this was done for espionage reasons. They asked for no money. This was believed to have been done by China. Number 3, you probably heard about this one, the Colonial Pipeline hack. Colonial Pipeline moves over half of the oil or oil products for the East Coast through its pipeline. These hackers hacked a $500 million global company. Why were they able to hack this company? Because this company was cheap. They're running old computers. They had poor IT practices. They didn't even have a security officer on the payroll. And the hackers got in easily. The hackers asked originally for 11 million. It got reduced. By the way, you can negotiate with hackers. It's not easy, and it should be done by a professional. But they only had to pay $4.4 million. But over the few days while they were still encrypted, they lost over 7 million due to lost business. Often the bigger thing than the ransom companies will pay is the lost business, lost reputation, stuff like that. Number 4, JBS Meatpacking. They are a global company. I believe the headquarters are in Brazil. $500 billion company. Again, running old computers that are not completely patched and with poor security. The hackers got in, originally demanded a $22 million ransom to unencrypt the data on the computers. JBS ultimately paid 11 million. The damages are unknown because JBS is very, very tight-lipped. So I haven't been able to get the goods on that. Number 5, Correia. This is another software company that makes software that IT people like me use for their clients. I don't use Correia software, but I use another company's software. The hackers, the group is called Revil, and they spell it kind of cute. Capital R, capital E, little V-I-L. They think they're cute. Anyway, they infected the software again that Correia was going to send out to its IT people, and then it allowed them to break in over 1,500 small businesses by encrypting their data. They were asking individual companies to pay ransom. A lot of the managed services companies that were doing the IT for these companies were in a lot of hot water. The hackers asked Correia to pay a $70 million ransom. I'm told that they said no, but a lot of businesses were down for a week or 2 or 3 while they tried to repair the damage that the hackers had done. So it's important to understand, for every one big business that is hacked, over 100 small businesses are hacked, and over 1,000 individuals are hacked. Why is this? Generally, hackers don't know in the beginning who they're attacking, who they're going to hack. They spray and pray. They might come up with an email system that they send out and wait for people to click. There's also different teams on the hacking side. There's the team that gets you in. These are relatively low-skilled people. They don't know all that about IT. They're just running software. And once they get into the computer, they bring in the other team and their job is to monetize and go, who did we hack? Oh, it's a big company. Let's charge them tens of millions of dollars. If it's a small company, it might just be a few $1,000,000. If it's an individual, it might be a few $100 or $1,000. They look at the target that they've just skewered, and then they figure out, well, what can they afford to pay? Very important thing to know. More of what you need to know. So who are the hackers? There's three main groups. And I'm ahead of my own slides. So there's the professionals. If you think of a sniper from the movies, the sniper's going after a single target. Ideally, they want to use one bullet. They're really, really good. I went up against some snipers in the 90s when I first got to deal with hackers. I informed the companies I was working for, if they want in, they're eventually going to get in because they don't get paid until they get in. And generally in the 90s, this is all before the dot-com bust, they were going after intellectual property. It was companies paying these hackers to hack other companies to get the intellectual property so they could benefit. Professionals, the snipers, are really hard to stop. The next group is the nation state. If you think of a highly skilled military team like SEALs or something like that, or the squad that went in to get Obama, you're not far off. These are guys that are well funded, have great tools, and they're going in to do a mission. Kind of like when they hacked SolarWinds. They were going after information in the US government. Those guys are very hard to stop as well. The only good news on this slide is the third group. Most hackers, like 98%, are gangs. And they're not all that IT savvy. In fact, most of them don't even write their own hacking software. They buy it from smarter guys. But they get a bunch of people to go out and follow specific procedures to break into companies. These are the ones you guys need to worry about, because they're going to send out their stuff and you guys are going to be innocent bystanders and just get skewered.
Isn't that, Ed?
Fire away.
Sorry to interrupt you, but isn't that the ones that buy their programs from the dark web?
Yes, exactly. Number 3, how do hackers get in? This is another important slide. They like to tell you that there's somebody you trust. To increase your trust in them. They might say they're your bank, they're Apple, they're Microsoft, they're Amazon, they're the IRS. Especially for seniors, this is one of their top ploys, but it works well for hackers too. Number 2, I see this a lot. They warn you you've been hacked and they're here to help. Yeah, they're not. They're here to get in. But again, they'll say that there's somebody you trust, a bank, IT company, Amazon, IRS, whatever. I've even seen them say that they're the police. And number 3, they may threaten you that they're already in your systems, and if you don't pay them, they're going to release your information to the dark web, and they're going to embarrass you with what they've seen on your camera and stuff like that. I put a little red asterisk here because very often this one telling you that they're already in their systems is not true. But unless you have really good IT, you can't tell that they're not in your systems. So people end up paying lots and lots of money for number 3 here. Notice what's not on here. You're not seeing anything saying that they're breaking in through firewalls or they're picking locks, because hackers are lazy. They would rather that you give them the keys to get in, and this is very true with scammers too. They're going to do something to manipulate you so that they can get into your systems, so they can get what they want. Picking a lock takes talent. They'd rather not employ people with talent. They're expensive. So the 3 big attacks in hacking are ransomware, where they encrypt your data and deny you access. If you haven't backed up your data, you're in big trouble if you get ransomware. Number 3 is extortion, where they don't encrypt your system. they tell you that, oh yeah, well, if you don't pay us, we're going to release all this confidential data that we got off your system and put it on the dark web, and you'll be embarrassed or you'll lose your business or something. Lately, we're seeing a double attack. They hit you with ransomware, you pay them, and then they say, oh, and by the way, if you want us to delete the data we downloaded from your systems, you also have to pay us this other fee. So it's kind of a double attack. Very nasty. And number 3 is business email compromises. We're seeing a lot more of this. This is where they somehow get into your email. I don't have time to discuss how they do it because it's complex. But generally, they get someone's password. They get into a company email system. They sit there for a while. They watch how the company works. And then they start saying, transfer some funds over here. They might send an email as if it's the CEO. Side point here, we were representing a wealth management company who got hacked 3 times this way, and they still won't hire us to secure their systems. You guys are expensive. But the hackers got in there, got access to the client data, and sent the clients emails as if they were the wealth manager with a great investment opportunity. 3 of his clients paid over $30,000 to the hackers thinking it was an investment. Do you think his clients are happy with him now? Probably not. So business email compromises, you could be transferring money to the hackers, or worse yet, they could get in and embarrass you in front of your clients. And so the thing is, for ransomware, the cure is have good data backups. If you don't, you're in trouble. The cure for extortion is have good IT security, because if they get in and get your data, backups won't help you. And on business email compromises, or BECS, security awareness training is the most helpful, because 85% of hacks are made possible by manipulating people. Now, yes, seniors are targets too. And in seniors' cases, it's all about manipulation. So the problem is going through the roof right now. But this is the number of fraud or identity theft reports by year. Has nothing to do with the dollar amount. But you're seeing from 2019 to 2020, it went through the roof. I couldn't get numbers for 2021 yet, but I'm expecting it went through the top of my monitor here. So in 2020, seniors lost over $3 billion in just the US due to financial scams, which is a subpart of how they scam seniors. Number 2, 2020 was a 47% increase over 2019. California is the most effective state. Why? Are most of the scammers here, or do they just think we're made of money? But over $152 million fleeced from seniors just in California last year. And older people get taken for the most. When I was trying to do the research for this PowerPoint for you, I found that there were different segments of age groups that often get fleeced in a scam. The sad thing was, the older you get with every decade, the scammers get more. Very important. Who is targeting the seniors? Well, it's not just the hackers. Number 1 is scammers. Number 2 is fraudsters. They work a little bit differently. But the third group is the hackers. And very often the hackers are not doing it intentionally. Usually when you're getting a hacking attack method, it's the scammers or fraudsters using the tools that the hackers use. No insult, but the hackers don't feel the seniors have enough money to be worth their time. So they'd rather focus on corporations and big business. If they get into an individual, they're going to try and figure out how to get some money out of it. But again, they'd rather the big businesses. Okay, why are seniors a target? Scammers, fraudsters, hackers, they believe that you're not aware of their methods. And if I was going to do anything today, my big goal was to explain that this is a real threat, explain who these people are and what they're going after. Just by being aware, you can lower your risk. Number 2, They believe that you don't know what to do when they attack. They think you're going to get flustered. You're going to get confused. You might be embarrassed to call someone else and say, hey, does this sound right to you? One of your best things to do is to involve other people when these happen and not just take action on your own. Again, get confused or flustered, and they think you're easy targets. I know a lot of senior folks who are not easy targets. They're super, super sharp, but not everybody knows about this stuff. And by the way, while I was doing research for this presentation as well, I found a lot of so-called software you could run on your computer that would make you immune to this. It's BS. It's not real. I'd like to put some of those companies in the same category as scammers because they're just trying to sell you something. You are your own best protection. The big three attack vectors have changed. So it used to be that there was email was the least, online was in the middle, and phones were preferred. Today, online attacks leveraging social media and websites have gone through the roof. And again, this is only up through Q2 of 2020, so I expect it to keep rising. Why are they falling back on online? It's cheaper. I can write one attack, put it online, push it out there. It's gonna get in front of a lot more people than if I have to pay somebody to call you and try and scam you out. So this is big business. But understanding the methods that they're going to try and fleece you is important. By the way, related to this, later on I talk about some suggestions, but when people come to my door and ask for a donation or call me and ask for a donation, my policy is if I don't know you or I didn't go to you of myself, I do not make donations. So I get some very nice people on my front porch and I'm sorry, but I don't do that. It's my policy. I don't want to be taken. So just keep that in mind. Next slide. So the top 10 fraud types by dollars lost. Some of these surprised me. This is back in 2019. I'm waiting to get later data. But number one was romance scams. I know if we're on social media, Facebook, stuff like that, we're probably all getting the messages from the really cute girls who are saying, hi, I want to get to know you. And I go, yeah, click. So romance scams obviously work. They're the number one category. Number two is to tell you they're part of the government. Maybe they are IRS and they want to help you. You made a mistake. You didn't pay enough on your taxes. I want to help you. Transfer this money to me and I'll do it. You've won a prize. You've won a sweepstake. You've won a lottery. They want to get some information out of you so they can get some money. Anyway, the rest of this is here, and I'm going to make the slides available to your team so you guys can all have a copy. What are the ways of protecting yourself? Number one, and this is the purpose of this presentation, be aware that you're at risk. Sadly, you're also at risk from those closest to you. When I hear these stories about people taking advantage of other folks that they were supposed to be taking care of, it really irks me. But you are at risk and you need to be cautious. I'm not clicking the button right. So don't isolate yourself, stay involved. What that means is talk to your friends. Have people that you trust to tell them what's going on. I just have another policy. I'll never make a purchase immediately. I always stew on it, a day or two. It's not going to be the end of the world, even if it's the IRS, or it says they're the IRS. But talk with other people. Don't be ashamed or confused. Tell the solicitors I never buy from or give, there's my thing about money, to anyone who calls or visits me unannounced. When I'm thinking about here, by the way, this list is from the National Council on Aging, but you're seeing that a lot of it corresponds to things I already do for myself. Just make it your policy to be cautious. Number 4, shred all receipts with a credit card number. Happily, most receipts now only have the last 4 digits, but I still think it's a good idea to shred everything. Anything with confidential data you wouldn't want, buy a cheap shredder and shred it. Number 5, Sign up for the do not call list. Again, this is somebody else's list, the NCOA. Most of these do not call lists, they don't work. They're garbage. Especially with the ones that want to sell you auto insurance because your car's warranty is running out. Those are coming in from other countries. They're not even in the US. We will see if our Congress does anything about it. They have the power, but they don't seem to like to do anything for us. Number 6, use a direct deposit box for benefit checks. Well, that would work. It's going to be a little costly for the box. I'll tell you what I did is I have what looks like a traditional mailbox outside my house. Inside it is a lock box with a slot. And so my mailman knows he stuffs all the mail into the lock box and you can't even get it without a key. Anyway, there's different ways to go about it. But if it's coming through the mail these days, you're very vulnerable. And number 7, never give your credit card, banking, Social Security, Medicare, blah, 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 unless you initiated the call. So lesson to you, if you get an email, it's your bank, and you've got a problem, never, ever click the link in the email. Close that down and call your banker. Same thing with anything around that. If I got a message allegedly from the Social Security or the IRS, I'd contact them directly through my own methods and never, ever use the email they provide. That is a very popular way that hackers like to do this. And, there's a number 8. So be skeptical of unsolicited offers, please. And just about anything. If it's too good to be true, it probably is. So, questions. I will answer anything you ask.
Ed, that was excellent and very much in line with some of the things that I believe and I follow, especially for unsolicited effects to try to get you to respond. I know I had one weird one from a publisher's clearinghouse that was out of New Jersey that I kept on the line for over an hour and a half to get all the information I could so I could turn it over to the government, and hopefully they followed up, but I haven't gotten any confirmation on that. But that is continuous for all of us seniors.
I'm turning 59 this May, and I've noticed with each year the number of solicitations are going up. So
I'd hate to tell you, but I get like 25 for your warranty on your car has expired, and now you tell me that's coming from overseas typically. Yes. So I can believe that because I don't even answer if I don't recognize the phone number. Luckily, the phone system I have tells me who's calling.
Yep, I do the same thing, except I also do it at my company, since I'm in my office now. And if it doesn't say who it's about or I'm expecting it, I don't answer. They can leave a message. I'll listen to the message. I've also got apps on my phone. For those of you who have smartphones, and I think that would probably be all of you, there are various apps you can get in the Play Store or Apple Store that will go on there. What am I running? I think I'm running RoboKiller. I think I pay $1 or $2 a month for it. This thing works really well because anybody who dials my phone, they compare it against a list of known scammers, and if they're on that list, they immediately delete them. Really nice. That was well worth the money. I'm very happy about it. I've also used Vonage for my home phone, and I've got a similar service on that as well. It's $1 or $2 a month. The reduction of stress, and I get angry, is well worth the money. So do some of these fraudsters get through? Yeah, sure they do. But the volume is cut down. What's another question?
Yeah, Ed, this is
Horace.
What about how safe is a cloud backup from ransomware, does that
Not.
affect you at all, or is it an exact copy?
So generally, the way most people configure a cloud backup is something that's syncing with your computer automatically. When your computer gets the ransomware will sync to your cloud. There are cloud backups that are impervious to this. They're not going to be the ones you buy because they're not the cheap ones. Okay, the best backups for consumers, in my mind, is if you want to do that for convenience, also periodically, get a USB stick and copy it and detach it from the computer. Or if you've got a lot of data, back it up to a hard drive and detach it from the computer, put it on a shelf. So I actually use a cloud backup. So it's backing up all the time. But once a month, I make a backup of my system just to be on the safe side. And in business, the way we back up business situations are called 3-2-1 backups. You want 3 copies of data, 2 that are on site, and 1 that's in the cloud, just in case. I hope that helps, Horace.
Ed,
Yeah.
could
Hey, Joe.
you put maybe in the chat the names of the things you use to prevent the robocalls hitting you all the time?
Well,
Or you
I
can
don't-
tell us again?
well, let me see. You know what? I'll do this because I'll get a little flustered and derailed when I do that. I will send it to the folks who booked me. How's that? And they can share it with you.
Send it to me and I will see that Joe gets that, Ed. Thank you very much. Because that's a concern I've had. I try not to use the cloud for almost everything, but use individual hard drives that I back up things to. But it concerns me if you use the cloud, that data is shared with everyone potentially.
Potentially.
Whether you have it on your hard drive or not. So if you put PII, personal identity information up there, you've lost it. And it doesn't matter whether you have it backed up or not. Is that not correct?
Well, you're more correct than you're wrong. The way we do it at for businesses, we encrypt the data before it goes to the cloud. So if anybody gets access to it, they've got gibberish, unless they've already hacked the company and they got your passcodes to unencrypt your data. But I never put anything in the cloud that isn't encrypted. Does that help?
Yes, that helps, but that leads me to asking you, can you come back and give us a good encryption description of how to go do that? Because I think that is key to how we protect our data, our lives, and our information in this crazy internet society that we are now living in, that we never grew up in.
So let me ask, I'm going to do a quick unofficial poll. And I ask you if you use Windows or Mac. So first, show of hands of who uses Windows. About 60%. Who uses Mac? About 20%. Okay. So that's about what I would expect for the Bay Area. There are different ways. One of the best ways, the Apple Macintosh offers encryption built in. You can turn it on. You don't have to buy anything. In the Microsoft Windows world, you have to have a professional copy of Windows to automatically get encryption as part of the operating system. If you have Windows Home, it's just not built in. And you'd have to either buy the upgrade to Windows Professional or get another product. One of the best ways to do that, Larry, is to encrypt your machine first, and therefore your data. And then if you copy it to the cloud, it's also being encrypted. It's being copied in encrypted format. That would be the easiest way. You can also Google software encryption tools. There's a bunch of them out there. They're all doing the same thing. I just like it to be built into my operating system. So all of my computers, whether I use them for my company or not, they're running Windows Pro. And that way I'm using the BitLocker, which is the encryption software that's built into the OS. It's the best way to go. So I would always try to use the native encryptor from either Apple or Microsoft before I would go buy something else. Cool. Next question. By the way, somebody asked for my contact info, and I just threw that into the chat. Next question. Ding, 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 ding.
Hey, Ed, a question about procedure. Do you have a
Hey, Ken.
problem? Do you have a problem with posting your presentation on our website?
No, I don't. Go for it.
Okay.
In fact, I was going to ask Larry if I could get access to the recording later myself.
Absolutely. What I will do is send you the URL for our website. that
We can do it bigger than that, Larry. We will edit this presentation. We'll put it in a file format, and we can either put it on YouTube or we can put it in another format and then give you access to it.
Or I could just send Larry my Dropbox, and you could drop it right there.
You could do
That would be fine.
I like to make
Dropbox
things.
for everything.
Dropbox, Box, all these other tools in the cloud. These companies get hacked left and right. If your data is in one of those, it's very vulnerable. So let's talk for a moment about two-factor authentication or multi-factor authentication. Show of hands, who does not know what MFA is or 2FA? It's okay, because my mom doesn't. Grab my phone again. There, I'll put it in front of my face. 2FA and multi-factor authentication just means that you have to, generally the username is a throwaway. It's usually your email address. It doesn't help you at all. But the password is something you know. And when you're trying to log into something and you use a password, well, that's something that the hackers could easily have. If they send you a code on your phone and then you type that in, that is much, much more secure. It's not 100%. I'll tell you in a minute why. But the simple two-factor, case in point, about 6 years ago, I went to all my financial institutions because I'm doing this for a living. I'm protecting companies. And I said, look, you haven't offered me 2FA or MFA. If you don't give me that, I'm moving my money to other institutions. I'll give you 6 months. This is before it was widespread. All of a sudden, they're giving me this stuff that they were working on in the background, but they hadn't made it apparent. If you have bank accounts or investments or things that are anything accessible to the cloud that is not also secured with 2FA or MFA, where it's sending you a code, you are highly vulnerable. And the reason I hate Dropbox and Box and a lot of these other companies is people don't set up the 2FA and the MFA. And that means all the hacker has to get is your password and he's in, or she's in. I think it was last week or the week before, the company LastPass got hacked. For those of you who don't know, LastPass is a password manager. A really good idea is a password manager, but you must secure it with MFA or 2FA, because if the hackers ever get your passwords, they're in. So the hackers last week or the week before hacked LastPass. They got everybody's password list. So I'm a LastPass user. Within minutes of them hacking, my phone is going crazy, sending me all these codes. The hackers couldn't get into my account because I had secured it with 2FA or MFA. What did I do? I went to the LastPass website. I changed my password. I'm done, because they have an old password, but they never had access to my phone. Now, here's where 2FA or sending codes to phones is not the greatest. Hackers will occasionally in third world nations get access to phone systems. And because the code is being sent through phone systems or email systems, they can intercept that. They can spoof your number so that they also get access to that. How do you get around that? How do you make it more secure? You can have a security authorization application running on your phone and have the codes go there. Unfortunately, most of these banks and other companies have not gotten with it and made it work with all those security apps. But 2FA, where you're sent a code via email or to your phone via SMS, that is vastly more secure than just a username and password. Anything that is accessible directly from the internet must be secured with 2FA or MFA.
Ed, can I ask you to please, because many of us do not understand the acronyms that you're using.
I'm sorry. That's a weakness of my industry.
And all of that.
Yeah.
I have been recently getting more and more going to the two-system methodology from my banks and from other secure sites. But I don't think we understand that as a senior community.
Let me back up and re-explain them. So 2FA stands for two-factor authentication. It means to get in, you're going to have a password and some code. And that code is usually sent to you as a chat on your phone or via an email. I also like the system. I'm sorry.
And that is only on mobile phones, not landlines.
True, very true. So MFA we consider is a little bit better because what it means is multi-factor authentication. It often means that we're using more stringent systems than just 2FA. So often with my clients, I've got a doctor's office where every time a doctor walks up to a, well, you can see that little business card, water company that fixed my leak the other day. Every time the doctors walk up to a new patient in a new room, they just put their card, which is magnetic, on the unit, and then they type in their password. They're in. Super simple. As soon as they lift up the card and walk away, they're out, and it's secure. So that's typical MFA. It's more stringent than 2FA, two-factor, but there's lots of methods to it.
May I comment? That is an RFI chip in the card that the reader senses. Not everybody
you're sharp.
has that.
Yep, you're sharp, Larry. Thank you. Other question?
What about virus software? Things like Bitdefender and McAfee and...
Good news or bad news first? I'll give you the good news first. The good news is if you've got Windows, Windows Defender has gotten a lot better. However, if I were running a computer only protected by Windows Defender from Microsoft, I would also be running a copy of Malwarebytes. They operate differently and they look for different things. However, having said that, traditional antivirus is garbage today. And the reason I picked on Windows Defender from Microsoft is they've done a lot to improve its accuracy. But traditional antivirus today, if it catches 30% of the stuff coming at you, you're lucky. In the businesses that we take care of, I think we're running 7 different applications on every computer because they do different things. And we're leveraging software that's using artificial intelligence in the cloud to spot this. And it's usually not spotting the software because of a line of code. It's spotting the bad stuff because of the way the software behaves. So for example, you download a new game and put it on your computer and you're not accessing it for a while. And then the software notices, gee, that game just created an access to this thing. A game shouldn't do that. I'm going to block it and kill it. When you have software protection running that's powered by artificial intelligence, it looks at the behavior of the stuff, not just what not just a snippet of the code. Traditional antivirus, all it did was like look at a fingerprint, a representation of it, and it just doesn't work anymore. We need new technology. Happily, Microsoft is up their game and their software on their computers. Oh, by the way, related to Macs, everybody thinks Macs are so secure. I will tell you that in many cases, they're much more insecure than Windows. And the worst thing about it, I can't really secure a Mac as easily as I can a Windows because Apple locks everything down. So if you've got a vulnerability, I can't easily fix it, which drives me nuts. Does that answer your question, Horace?
Partially.
Give me the
Is
next
there-
one.
Is there something that you would recommend?
Well, I kind of alluded to it with Apple's going to have their own built in. And Microsoft, if you stick with Windows Defender, you're about, and run Malwarebytes, you're about as safe as you can be as a consumer. You're just not going to be willing to pay the money that is necessary to really reduce the risk. Everywhere I go, when people ask me this question, they don't like my answer, but it's the truth. There really isn't a good solution for the consumer out there today. The best thing is to operate your computer and back up your data and assume something's going to happen. Because what we can do is we can block the really crappy, weakly written software, but we can't block the really good stuff with the consumer protections. It's going to get in. And when it does, you want to have those backups so you can restore.
So that's Malwarebyte.
Malwarebytes, it's a good company. I wish it did more. I wish they all did more. By the way, you've all probably heard the name Norton. About 2 weeks ago, we made a discovery on Norton. Well, we didn't, the industry did. Norton's such a fun company. They make antivirus software. You buy their product, they're always trying to sell you new stuff. But it was recently disclosed that Norton was installing software on its customers' computers to help them break these Bitcoin things. They were using their clients' computers to break.
Mine Bitcoin.
That's the word, mine Bitcoin. And I'm going, what? I mean, that is a new low. I mean, it's one thing to advertise to you all the time through the software you're paying for, but now to use my computer to make them more money? That's like horrible. Anyway, don't trust these guys. I mean, they're just out to make money. God. I'll take one more question. And then I've got a meeting in 8 minutes.
I got a question.
John.
Hey, excellent presentation. But there's a generic question here, and you alluded to Congress. Okay, if you want to stop burglars, you can put locks on your doors and so forth. But if you have no police, it's dead-ended. So what is the problem? Why isn't the government more involved? We're desperately putting locks and doors and everything else, but there's no police out there. So what in the world is going on here?
So only in the last 6 months has the FBI and the CIA and all these guys gotten together and done some stuff. It used to be just a few months ago, if the hackers got your money and you paid them in Bitcoin, you could never get your money back. All of a sudden, there was a hack a few months ago, and they got a big chunk of the money back. And I'm going, how the hell did you do that? Bitcoin's supposed to be, impervious to that. They figured out a way around it. The political figures are starting to feel the heat from inaction, and they're starting to move. But I will tell you, as an IT professional, many of the things that they're recommending now are bonehead stupid. They came out with a list of things that companies should do. Let me tell you something. In my industry, there are these things called cybersecurity frameworks. The cybersecurity framework is an instruction guide. How should a network be architected? How should it be secured? How should it be managed? There's about a dozen of these, and they're aimed at different industries. They are very, very thorough. The shortest one I know is 153 items. Well, a couple months ago, the Congress was saying, well, we're gonna put together a list of things you should do. I'm going, we already have those lists. People don't do it. So they also need to put their head out of their butts and realize that that's not a real solution. They just want to be on the news and act like they did something. But that was useless. So the thing with these robocalls trying to sell us car insurance, they could easily implement technology or force the phone companies to implement technology that would filter that out. But the phone companies are paying them for re-election funds and they don't want to make them mad. And the phone companies are making money by accepting these calls from other countries. They're just not doing the thing that would help us. So do I know when they're going to do something? No. Am I angry as a citizen? Yes. Anyway, it's been a pleasure, folks. I'll send Larry the soft copy of the PowerPoint, and you're all welcome to it. And I wish you the best.